Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Allow me to welcome here in the studio Mr. Ahmad Salwan, former member of the Republican Committee at the U.S. Congress. Thank you very much for coming in tonight. Also joining me is Dr. Mustafa Abbas, political analyst. Always a pleasure having you with us. Thanks very much for coming in.
You're welcome.
Dr. Mustafa, let me just start off by asking you about your overall impressions of this visit by the Foreign Minister to Washington in terms of importance and significance of its timing.
Yes, well, the timing is very significant because of the new president, Donald Trump, who has been in office for a month or so, and he has been causing a lot of commotion in the international politics. This is all the more so in the Middle East because this is one of the hot, if not the hottest spot on the globe. So this visit is very important in terms of being the first. And it is also important in preparation for the forthcoming visit of our president to Washington, which should be very important and significant. And of course, we have heard about the events, the secret ones and the declared ones, in the last months or last probably year or so, in preparation for something that might happen in the Middle East. And I underline the word "might" being the operative word here.
Right.
So it's very important, it's very significant, and I believe that we are going in the next few months, that's after March, in April, probably in May, we'll probably start seeing some results, hopefully.
Let me put the same question to Mr. Ahmed and ask you, obviously, how you see this visit in terms, obviously, of the importance of it, in terms, obviously, of its timing, and what you believe are going to be the most important topics on the agenda of talks.
Terrorists, I think, is the first topic is going to be. That's what Trump said, that he's coming, one of his agenda things is to fight Daesh or ISIS. And, but I think it's a very important visit because he's almost the first president who, before he became a president, is talking about a peace in the Middle East. We all know that Obama tried it for like 8 years unsuccessfully to try to push it. I think Trump is different. I think he have a lot of things different than any other president. And I think we need to talk to him. We need to explain to him how it works in the Middle East, how is the situation in the Middle East. I think he's a kind of person who can change his mind. He can listen. I can see that with a British Prime Minister. She changed his mind a little bit about NATO and about European Union. And he started changing about settlement. Israeli settlement after he met with King of Jordan. So I think it's going to be very, very important. Especially he likes our president very much. Really, every time he's talking about it, and I think he will listen to our president. And I think our president have a very good chance of trying to persuade him, to make him understand how it works in this area. And I really have hope because even with all the things about him, but I think, in a way, he can do something. I think he can. Like Bush, I will compare him to Bush a little bit. Bush was like, he's the only one who could, at the time, say 2 states, or Palestinian states. Nobody would dare say that before. Bush was able to. This man also, the way, if you see how he said it to Netanyahu in there, you're going to stop settlement, aren't you? Something like, he is different. He is different, and I think also you talk about this talk before that about peace talking, including probably Gulf countries and some other countries. So hopefully, also the Netanyahu tone was different. So,
right. So we shouldn't expect it to just focus on bilateral ties, but obviously to look at the bigger picture and obviously the Middle East as a whole. If I come back to you, Dr. Mustafa, and ask you, obviously, about the point of Egyptian-American counterterrorism and perhaps cooperation in that particular area, something that Mr. Ahmed mentioned. How do you think that can be expanded under a Trump administration?
It's supposed to be actually enhanced under the Trump administration because that was one of the points on his ticket when he was campaigning for election. He said he would deal with terrorism in the world. But don't forget that other presidents, even Republicans, said that before, and they did very little. Will it be different this time? We are hoping, of course, we are hoping so, but I really doubt it very much because terrorism is like an oppression. You are fighting something that really does not show itself. It's like a ghost. It's not touchable, it's not palpable. So this is being used, the word terrorism is being used to achieve, unfortunately, different ends. And
exactly.
this is actually witnessed now with the Palestinian cause, which is the crisis in the Middle East. We should not forget that the Palestinian cause is the core of the crisis. Egypt is more concerned, and I underline again the word more, concerned about the cause of Palestine, because it affects every one of us. Every family in Egypt lost a man or probably a woman for the Palestinian cause, and this is something we are proud of. So we should not forget that. Will that be translated into real action on the ground here in terms of terrorism? Especially, we have problems with Sinai. Today and yesterday we had casualties in Sinai, and of course there are mistakes and even blunders being committed in terms of dealing with terrorism in Sinai and elsewhere. So I don't know whether the Trump administration is going to deal with it the same way Bush did or even Obama did. I have no idea whether they have an elaborate strategy. Probably my friend would be able to tell more, because he is more involved in that than myself.
Do they have a new strategy?
You said something very, very important. I keep repeating it all the time. Is terrorist is not the issue. The terrorist was created to divert the attention from Middle East problem. Middle East problem is the main issue. If we solve the Middle East problem, we wouldn't have any terrorists. We wouldn't have any problems. I think they did that, and somebody did it. Some people want it to be like this, and it's nothing. It's fraction of the problem. It doesn't cause that much harm as they try to show it.
It's interesting you say that, and both of you agree to this particular point, that the core issue is the Israeli-Palestinian conflict and trying to find a solution to it.
Definitely.
But then, for someone, perhaps, if you can elaborate, perhaps, on how this issue is the core problem and not sort of, or if the Palestinian-Israeli problem is solved, then the bigger picture in the Middle East will in turn be solved.
I really think all this is intelligence work.
Right.
I really do. Terrorism is intelligence work. It's trying to hurt other countries. It's trying to make, if they want a new Middle East or a new dividing some countries or make a new order. I think we'll have a new order now, but different than the new order people would think in Bush time. That's why I think and there's a lot of hands behind this terrorist thing, and if the issue of the Middle East solved the right way and with agreement that we have to stop all these things. We have to stop the war in Islam. There's a big war in Islam. That's a big reason also. And I myself warn a lot about war, a religious war. I warn the Israelis about it. Now what's happening to them in America? They've been attacked as Jewish because of the war. You don't do a religious war. It's wrong. So it's turned against them. That's why we should not do that. Another thing I want to speak about something different a little bit. I'm sorry to get out of the subject. I'm not getting out of the subject, but Trump wanted to help Egypt. Every country is aware now that Egypt is the front. Egypt are protecting them, fighting the terrorists. So I think it's about time to ask for more aid from America. I think Sadat had an agreement with Carter at the time that Egypt and Israel should take the same aid, same amount. Now Egypt is number 4, Israel is number 1, Iraq is number 2, Pakistan is number 3, getting aid from America. Egypt is number 4. I don't think that's right. Egypt should be number 1. And he should talk about this. There's nothing wrong or embarrassing about talking about financial aid, because we do help them a lot. Also, we should talk about military aid. So this is one thing that needs to be done. Another thing I need to talk about also, we should study this man's personality. I'm talking about Trump. His personality should be studied very well before we sit with him. That's what all countries does. How can we persuade him? How can we should definitely invite him to Egypt, that he will see a different world that he doesn't know about it. Now his I don't know if I use the right word, he's been tamed, or being better like a state man. Maybe we can reach a deal with him now better. It's a very good time for the president, our president, to go now.
Dr. Mustafa, do you think we should be asking, if you will, for more aid from America, especially when it comes to military assistance?
Definitely.
Right.
Definitely. The Germans say, they have a saying, it always goes about money. It's immer geht ums Geld. So money is very important. Right. We have to ask for aid.
That's right.
We have to ask for aid, especially in view of the fact that you are talking first of all to a real estate developer, not a president. I don't mean to denigrate him, but he is a real estate developer. The guy is ready to make dealings on the table and under the table. One thing that we should start off with, I think, where is the border of Israel?
Right.
Does Israel have borders? I don't know why nobody is asking that. Does Israel have a border that we can say, well, it ends at the beginning of Gaza and it ends at the beginning of the West Bank? No, nobody can answer that. Are we going to be able to solve this problem? I don't think so, because this is part of an ideology. I don't need to elaborate on the ideology in the time span that we have for the program. But we should definitely look for a deal, a definite deal, in view of the strategic and historic importance of Egypt. Right. Egypt plays a role. However, facts on the ground do not make us happy, do not make us self-assured. Right. Because there has been interventions, direct interventions, military intervention by Israel in the last week or so against quote-unquote terrorist elements in Sinai. Right. Who has sovereignty over Sinai? Is it us or the Israelis? Or do we have something in secret between us and the Israelis? I really don't know. Right. I fail to understand. We have to think, these things have to be very clear, and I'm sure.
I don't have specific information about this.
I'm not asking for information. I'm only asking questions. These, I believe, are legitimate questions, not my questions. I believe these are also the questions of the layman in Egypt on the street. Right. The layman would ask these questions. Not even the layman. Everyone would be asking these questions. So
you're saying, yes, we should be asking for more.
We definitely should be asking, again, in view of the strategic importance of Egypt.
But do you think, and I think we've seen this perhaps, or we've felt this particularly here in the country with the praise that Donald Trump has obviously given our President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, that he realizes perhaps more than the Obama administration the importance of Egypt as a regional player. Do you think so?
I wouldn't buy this. Personally, no. And we should not in Egypt buy on the personal chemistry, on the chemistry between the two presidents. We should look for facts. As Egypt, we should look, of course, they are looking for, the Americans are empirical. I don't have to explain that. But we should also be empirical. Why not? We should know exactly what we want, and we should get what we deserve as a strategic country and as a regional superpower. I know that we are in the worst of cases at the moment, but we are and we will be a regional superpower.
Okay, let me ask the same question to Mr. Ahmed. Do you think, though, that as a lot of local media has highlighted, that there is a personal chemistry between Donald Trump and President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, and hence a lot of people here in Egypt feel that the Trump administration understands more fully the importance of Egypt in the region, and that relations will improve from what we've been seeing from the previous administration?
I think chemistry is very important. Right. I think personal relation is very important. And I can refer you to President Nasser. President Nasser had friends, world leaders as friends, and that helped a lot. President Sadat, if people remember, President Sadat used to always say, my friend Carter, or my friend Ford, or my friend. That's good, that's important. I think, for me, as a businessman or a salesman, if the person I'm doing business with likes me, he will buy from me. He will do business with me. I think it's important. I think it's important for the international relation. That's one thing. Second thing, I think everybody knows already what's the importance of Egypt. Every kid, every child Egypt is his second home because he learned it in the school about how important the importance of Egypt. So I am sure Trump likes it. That's why I'm saying we should invite him here. I'm sure we can have a better relation. I am sure we can have his help. I'm sure. But now we need to push for the main thing. The most important thing is the Middle East problem. And I think there's hope if this man is really... Also, I can feel, I don't know why, that Israel is about time to know. And now I remember what else I want to say about Israel is they don't know what they want. We should ask them for a peace initiative. What do they think about it? I mean, first, some people in Israel said we don't want a two-state solution. Now they find out that this cannot be happening because I want everybody to listen again to Kerry a speech before he leave about Israel and Middle East. If this was a perfect speech. It was the first ever, I think, American foreign minister attack Israel the way Kerry did it. He just explained everything. American people does not know what happened in 48, does not know the creation of Israel. They really don't know that at all. So the man explained everything. The man explained where we stand now. And he told them, either way, you're going to have two states, or you're going to have one state and democratic one state. Which one you want? You're going to be apartheid, like Carter says. So I think they have to decide what they want. I am with one state, fine. You want one state, fine. We should accept that, but give the Palestinians the rights. The absolute right like Israelis. You know what? If this happened, if they have one state, maybe in 10 years there would be no Israel. Because if they make it all one state, Palestine is going to be a majority. Now, right now, if you add, West Bank and Gaza, Palestine is going to be majority. So I'm not happy with that as Israeli. So they really don't know what they want. They don't know what they want. They should think of a way to solve this problem. And now we're going to ask them how you want it to be solved.
Well, don't you think that the Israeli administration, especially under Benjamin Netanyahu, will always dance around this particular issue? They will never directly, because maybe they don't have a solution, or maybe they just want the status quo.
No, they wanted to be stayed like this. Yeah.
Right.
They wanted to continue the same way.
Never had any other administration or any other government in Israel.
Yeah.
I asked the question at the beginning of this program, where is the border of Israel?
Exactly. They don't
where
know.
does it end?
They don't know.
You know where it ends? As Levi Eshkol said, where the last Israeli shoulder sets his foot.
But I think they know now it's impossible. I think now they know it's impossible. That's why they don't know what they want to say or what they want to do.
I cannot be as sure as you are. Yeah. But again, this is a question that has to be asked. Not at this visit, but this is what we're just saying in general.
The Israeli-Palestinian issue is going to be on the negotiating table. It's something that the two leaders are going to discuss. Probably also something that the foreign minister is going to touch on during his Tuesday visit to Washington. But the thing is this: a lot of people feel that the Trump administration, perhaps not feel, but are very aware with the his favorite social media outlet, Twitter. He's made his own several tweets where he's mentioned his how he favors Israel and how he favors changing the embassy and moving it to the American embassy and moving it to Jerusalem, and that kind of stance as well worries people. Obviously,
we shouldn't be worried, because these are the ideas of a real estate developer, not of a president. As he said, he was tamed a little bit. But the issue is, he was tamed. He was actually brought to his senses about some issues. You cannot do that. He believes, he thought, somehow he was under the impression that when he enters the White House, he would just do like the presidents of the third world countries, do whatever they can dream of at night, and the next morning they just implement it. No. The United States, I lived in the United States for 10 years. It is based on institutions. The judges said no. Other high senior officials in the government said no to him, and the American people, let's say some of the American people, not even the majority, said no. So he's coming around to believe that he cannot do whatever he.
So you
promised.
believe that the fact that his travel ban didn't go through and that it was stopped by several courts, that brought him
back to his senses.
One of the things, yeah.
Do you agree, Mr. Ahmed?
Yes, yes, definitely. He was slapped hard in this issue. He thought it was going to be very easy. He thought he's going to be running the country as he's running one of his companies. And now I think he sees the reality. Something else I want to say about how strange the way we are. This man is against the media. And some people call this a dictatorship. He's trying to be a dictator in a way. You cannot be against the media in America. And in the meantime, you know who is behind the media? It's Israel. And the Zionism is behind. Really, you cannot do that with the media. So how could you want to be that friendly with Israel and you are against the media this way? That's why I really feel it's going to be a clash between him and Israel. I think he's going to be like Bush. If you remember when Bush had a problem with the Israeli, what was his name, Prime Minister at the time of Bush. I think this is going to happen between him and Netanyahu, because Trump is not the type he's not political. He's not the type of taking no for an answer. So I think, like the way when he asked Netanyahu, are you going to stop the settlement? I mean, Obama administration was like for 8 years to make him stop it, and he wouldn't. I just asked him for 3 months. He asked for all the aid from America to stop for 3 months.
So do you see a shift? Because before that particular meeting, he had said that he will not pressure Israel into accepting anything, be it a two-state solution or stopping settlement building. So do you really believe that there is going to be a shift in how he sees and how he perceives the two-state solution and Israel as well? And perhaps you think that Egypt will be playing a role in changing his perception?
Yes, my personal feeling that he's going to clash with Israel. He did not do what he said. I mean, for the settlement, it's unbelievable. I mean, when this man was making a speech in Abbas, he was dancing, the Israelis. He was so happy about what he was saying. And now he said no for the settlement. Now he said we'll wait for the capital. I mean, the embassy to go to Jerusalem. So he's changing, and I don't know. And this man have an agenda. We don't know what it is. But everybody, even America, talking about that. I think that's another thing. Bush came with an agenda. America does not have agenda usually, but the Republican, they seem to come with agenda. Bush his agenda is to be the leader of the world, America by itself, the only leader of the world. And look what happened now. He failed. The economy failed. All over the world, the economy, until now, we are suffering from what Bush was trying to do. Trump, we don't know his agenda exactly. He is pro-Russian. He's against Russian. I called him Yeltsin or Gorbachev America, because it seemed like he doesn't like NATO, doesn't like European Union, he doesn't like California. It's weird stuff. Like really, California is not happy with him, and California is one of the biggest state who donate to the federal government. So we don't know what's his agenda. That's why we really have to study him. We really have to persuade him. We really have to talk to him a lot. And
I mean, some people say because of his lack of political savvy that he might not actually have an agenda and that he's just winging it. Do you think so?
Yes. Yes, he does not have an agenda. His idea, his mindset is different.
Right.
His mindset is different. He wants to have a project, and he wants to unleash the project. Whatever comes, he, tries to adjust himself to the currents, and until he has done whatever he wants to do. Well, this is well and fine. Then we have to play our cards. We as the Middle East, we as Egypt, we have to play our cards. We have some cards to play. We are not helpless.
Right.
We are not helpless. We are, at least Egypt now is stable, relatively stable. I wish we can end the differences we have within the country. We would definitely be in a much better position, and in that position would be able to exercise more pressure. But again, the way we are not small country.
Right. Should we expect breakthroughs when it comes to economic cooperation?
No, I don't think so. No, unfortunately no, because the United States is having some economic troubles. The economic environment in Egypt is not attractive to foreign investment, to put it clearly. We do not. We have some political troubles, we have some economic troubles, we even have some social troubles. All of this we have to take care of first, and then we will have investments in Egypt. Egypt always has had the potential to be, again, a regional superpower,
So
politically, militarily,
right.
and economically.
What should people expect the outcomes of this visit to be? I mean, if we're not going to be talking about the economy, what are we going to be talking about? Military cooperation, countering terrorism, solving the Palestinian-Israeli cause, perhaps looking at other countries or other conflict crises in the region?
Highlight of this visit will be military cooperation,
right,
and some military assistance for Egypt. Again, the fighting terrorism would be one of the most salient points or results of this result. Otherwise, I don't think we will be able to make a dent into the Palestinian question, and economically, I am not sanguine about it.
Right. Let me take with us over the phone is Ambassador Nabil Badr, former Assistant Foreign Minister. Thank you very much for your time, Mr. Ambassador. Mr. Ambassador?
Oh, yes. Hello.
Always a pleasure having you with us. I just wanted to ask you about your impressions of Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukri's visit to Washington and what you expect the outcomes of this visit to be.
I think it's important if we look at the visit itself, especially that all comments are about that it is comes within the preparation of the intended visit of President al-Sisi to Washington, which is going, of course, to be of special importance, let alone that so many years have elapsed since there was a visiting Egyptian president to the White House, and after the changes which are taking place internally in the U.S. Of course, I mean, the highlights are really under different headings. We have, I think, in the first place, a proper reading of the situation in Egypt, and that includes, of course, partly the significance of not only the elements that bring terrorism within some of the groups that extend and that have really extended outside Egypt to other places, but that judgment should be really based on that. And that comes in stark contrast to what has been taking place under the previous administration, which, as a matter of fact, dealt in a way which was more or less, let me say, very factual but very improper in terms of assessment of the Egyptian internal situation. Right. Number two, taking from that and under the developments that have taken place in this part of the world, Egypt has proved that it is the stable country, reliable, with whom you can extend credible relationships and rely on that. We are suffering certain difficulties in that respect. If we come to the economic situation, we are having a hard time here. And we hope and look forward to investments from the United States, investments with the encouragement of the American government, with an open door policy, as you know, and we have made lots of efforts here, I think, which need also a political drive, encouragement on the part of the administration. And it's important. There are some positive signs which came under some statements, short but in that direction, by President Trump in the last weeks or so, and that is going to be certainly significant. Number two, in the serious effort at modernizing a symbolic, important Arab, Mediterranean, African state in this part of the world, we need certainly more technological help and more help to administer and modernize many of the areas in which we need help. I think that also could be taken care of.
Right.
When it comes, of course, to the military side, which is of prime importance in the scope of bilateral relationships, I hope that should be organized. Let us remember that the previous administration stopped the joint war games, the Bright Star, as we know, and at a certain time will actually cease to deliver certain armaments that were very much required while we were fighting the terrorists in Sinai. Now, there's a thing which I think is also very important in that respect. Egypt, in that respect, and according to the administration, not only this administration or the previous one, in the Congress papers and other papers as well, it's considered very important in terms of its relationship with the United States, because it has an influence in the good sense, of course, of the word,
Right.
In its domain, political, geographical as well, in this part of the world. Now, that should be held and done properly. In other words, we hope of a positive appreciation and action in terms of the Palestinian issue.
Right.
Let us say that many files are open in this part of the world. The Palestinian issue is of special importance. It has been sitting and bearing its bad effects on lots of developments since more than 60 years.
Mm-hmm.
And as a small reminder of the last decade or so, when we go back to the year 2002 or 3, we remember that another Republican President Bush at that time came out with a roadmap. And the roadmap had a vision, had a timetable, and let us look from that time to this day, more than 14 years or so, and nothing really changed.
Right.
On the contrary, we find settlements planted here and there. We find the state of Israel denying the Palestinians their own proper state. We find, well, a retreat, a political retreat, which brings about impasse, despair, and actually the administration itself suffers because it loses not only its credibility or ability to solve a problem which is sustainable, which is being appreciated by the whole world, which is quite fair according to American standards as well, but at the same time opening the hell and opening the vacuum between, well, not only question marks, but possibilities of
Right.
more terror, more terrorism, more breeding of other factions that might cause instability in this part of the world, deviating the path to which we here in this part of the world, and in Egypt in particular, look forward to develop our country, live in peace with our neighbors, and nothing happens. Now, there is a project, and the project is, I think, sustainable, which is the Arab project, which projected, as we know, more than a decade ago. Israel, of course, has not dealt with it. The administration has, well, praised it at certain times, but did nothing.
Right.
And the whole tactic of the previous administration was, well, playing the game of controlling the crisis, but not solving it. And that's a game which certainly hasn't, and everyone understands it. Everyone knows what's taking place, only that surrounding political situation has changed a lot, and it is very dangerous to think that it is able, or any party is able, to persuade that line of conduct, and that the area will just sit and be happy and watch, and well, join in meetings here and there, and a lot of talk and a lot of nothing taking place in the proper way of a solution. That's
Right.
exactly what Israel wants. So, should the administration ask itself quite properly, are we a part of Israel, or is Israel a part of the world? Is it in the best interest of peace to find a solution or to maintain that status quo.
Right.
Is it fair and sound according to whatever international standards to deprive a people from their homeland, from their future, from the life of self-determination, and deprive the whole area from progress, getting out of the scope of terrorism and building itself? I think that's something which should be really considered properly, especially
Indeed.
that it affects the Egyptian position.
Indeed. Thank you very much for your insights, Ambassador Nabil Badr, former Assistant Foreign Minister. Thank you for your insights. Gentlemen, unfortunately, I have run out of time. Hopefully, we will meet again to further discuss perhaps the outcomes of... I thank you both very much for coming in tonight. Dr. Mustafa Abbas, political analyst, it was a pleasure, and Mr. Ahmad Sawan, former member of the Republican Committee at the US Congress. Thank you very much for coming in. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all the time we have for this edition of the Daily Debate. Thanks very much for watching, and goodbye.